All right, we're going to put everything together that we've learned so far. So you're going to be identifying the explanatory and response variable, making the scatter plot, adding the regression line, finding the equation, finding the R-squared value, and making some predictions. So the first problem you're going to try this on is fat and calories in cheeseburger. A nutritionist was interested in developing a model that describes the relationship between the amount of fat in grams in cheeseburger at fast food restaurants and the number of calories. She obtains the data from the websites of companies. So I'd like you to go ahead and answer those questions that are on your notes. You'll need to go back over to Excel, and you're looking for the data tab called cheeseburger. All right, this is the data set that you should be looking at in Excel, and I'd love for you to go ahead and pause the video and give these a try. All right, so hopefully you gave that a try. Let's go through this. So the explanatory variable here is going to be the fat content, so that'll be our X. And then our response variable, Y or vertical axis, will be calories. And the next question says to find the equation of the line. So I'm going to start by making a scatter plot. So I'll highlight both columns of data and add that scatter plot. And I'm going to go ahead and put in those axis labels because it just makes it easier for me to look at this and understand what I'm looking at. So this is fat content on the x-axis and calories on the y. Right? And then in order to get the regression line and the equation on here, I'm going to go over to add a chart element, go down to trend line, and I am going to choose that more trend line options. So you can also get to this panel through the plus sign that shows up on here. You just want to make sure you choose more trend line options. If for some reason this isn't the panel that shows up, close that panel and then go through that process again. Sometimes it opens up on like this one or one of these other ones. So either click through them or just close the panel and go back and do the more trend line options again, and it should bring up the correct panel. So it's marked on linear, which is what I want. And then I'll go down to the bottom of the panel and display equation and display R-squared. So I get both of those on here. I'll move that up there. So now I have the equation is 13.733x plus 150.95. My R-squared here is 0.89, so that's really close to +1. So this will be a good predictor. And then it says predict the calories for a cheeseburger with 32 grams of fat. So I'm going to come over here and find, you can do this with a calculator. I'm just going to do it in Excel so you can see what I'm doing. So I found a blank cell and I put an equal sign. And I'll type 13.733 times 32 for the 32 grams of fat plus 150.95. And so I get 590 calories there as my prediction. So that takes care of that. And then there's one last question on here, and this is getting at the extrapolation part. So plugging in that value of 32 is interpolation. Now I want to look at the extrapolation part. So it says, for what values of the explanatory variable would you use this equation? So I'm going to look at my x values. It looks like the lowest one on here is about 20. And probably the highest is about 46 or so. So I'd probably say I feel comfortable using this from about 18 grams of fat to maybe about 50 grams, somewhere in there. If you have a slightly different answer than mine, that's totally fine. It should at least be 20 to whatever the biggest number is, which is probably what, 46, 47. So you should at least have 20 to 47 because that is the lowest and highest, but you could go a tiny bit outside of that. All right, so come back in the next video. We're going to look at how to do this if you have a two-color scatter plot.